What's up, everybody? It's Man with Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video we're going to be taking another look at the KerBlaster as a part of my Does It Suck series. The KerBlaster is the legendary Torgue assault rifle that drops from Midgemong in the main game, but is obviously easier to acquire from the Torgue vending machines in the second campaign DLC, Mr. Torgue's Campaign of Carnage. This is actually one of my very favorite Axton weapons, but like many other weapons, it got a boost as a part of the community patch, so I'm really excited to see how it performs with the patch applied. We're going to start here by looking at the unpatched version of the weapon. I have this one here with a Torgue grip and the slippery prefix. That's going to be the accessory that gives it a faster projectile and a faster fire rate. And being that this projectile is a fairly slow moving projectile if you don't have this accessory, I think it makes the weapon a lot easier to aim. In addition to that, the fire rate buff is a pretty substantial DPS boost as well. You can see when firing this weapon, after the main projectile makes contact with an enemy or surface, it's going to drop a little grenade that bounces around and then explodes. Let's take a look at how potent this weapon is here. This is actually one of my favorite weapons on Axton, even without the patch. There is a slag barrel here, and being that this is a Torgue weapon, I think we're going to blow up that slag barrel no matter what. So we won't be able to kill this guy unslagged, but let's take a look at how it does here in the unpatched version of the game. You can see that when those extra little grenades hit, it does take a chunk off of his health bar, and it kills him. So he died pretty quickly. This was a potent weapon even without the community patch, but with the community patch applied, it should be even better. And so I'm excited to take a look at that, but to kind of illustrate the changes that the community patch has for the KerBlaster, I think it's important to go to the testing dummy so that we can look at some of these numbers real quick. One thing that the community patch does for the KerBlaster is it makes it so that the main projectile gets grenade damage boost, which it doesn't have here without the patch applied, and we'll take a look at that here. So if I shoot this guy, 1588, and then the grenade did 2144. So about 1.5 million on the initial shot, 1.6 if we round up, and then about 2.1 million on the extra damage from the grenade. So the second pellet is definitely getting grenade damage boost. Let's go ahead and drop the class mod for a second and take a look at what we're shooting now. So 1067 there, and then 1440 on the extra bounce. Cool. And so then let's apply this expert grenadier comm and see how it changes. So again, 1067 on the initial shot, and now we're getting 2262 on the extra bounce. So you can see that with a proper comm, or at least some comms applied, the extra pellet is doing over double the damage of the initial impact. And so you had to get a situation where this weapon really could succeed. For it to be very efficient, you had to have like extra enemies nearby to take advantage of these extra pellets, or you had to have them, a big enemy in an enclosed space, or some combination of those, different situations where the gun can become effective. Obviously, if we're shooting at him at an angle like this, it's much less likely for the extra pellet to actually hit him. Obviously, the KerBlaster can damage you as well, and you can see that sometimes when I shoot this enemy, the extra grenade is not actually dealing damage, and so when you're using it and you don't get the extra grenade to hit, it's actually a very inefficient weapon. Anywho, let's apply the community patch and see how things have changed. Now, a lot of Torgue barreled assault rifles ended up actually having their ammo usage reduced, such as the Bearcat, for example, but I do not believe the KerBlaster benefits from that. It is, in my knowledge here, the only one that didn't have its ammo cost reduced. So it still does cost 4 ammo per shot, but I think you'll find that it does a lot more damage now that the main projectile is actually getting grenade damage boost. And so I'm pretty excited about this because, like I said, it was one of my favorite weapons with Axton before the community patch. And now that the main projectile does so much more damage than it was doing beforehand, I think that's pretty awesome. So you can see there at 2768, and then the extra grenade is also going to deal that 2768. So that's huge. Now you can actually just shoot an enemy straight up, and it's still going to be a pretty effective weapon even if the extra grenades aren't hitting. And obviously now that it gets grenade damage bonuses, it benefits a lot more from a lot of Axton's skills, including Steady and some other ones as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at Steady here. That is a significant grenade damage boost at 55%. Battlefront also provides gun damage and grenade damage, so when you have the turret out, you'll get even more out of this weapon. So, pretty exciting stuff there. I'm excited to see how it does here in the Washburn Refinery. We'll have to head out there here in just a second. But the community patch also adds the legendary Grenadier comm if you have it enabled, so we can put that on and we'll get even more damage now. 3256, so that is pretty huge there. We're going to be using this explosive relic. I decided to use a quasar with this gun so that we can hopefully group enemies up and, get massive damage with our extra grenades. Now, with that said, the quasar is a pretty powerful grenade in its own right, so it might do some killing on its own. But I do think it will help the KerBlaster perform extra well because the enemies will be, grouped up, which is going to increase the effective DPS here of the KerBlaster. Now that, our main projectile is getting those grenade damage boost, I expect this guy to die pretty quickly here. I'm going to go ahead and slag him since we slagged him in the unpatched control, and you can see now he dies very, very easily. With the KerBlaster, you can actually start shooting sometimes before enemies are entirely dead because you know that the extra grenades are going to kill them at times. So I'm just going to start shooting into these guys. Hopefully the turret gets them nice and slacked up for us. Cool. Try to see where it's shooting over there. It's that R loader. Again, this is where the slippery prefix, or, fire rate and projectile speed accessory is really helping out this weapon. Because some of these enemies that are far away, we'd otherwise have to deal with leading the enemy with our slow-moving projectiles, or I think they actually arc a little bit more, too, so that'll be something to look at. That enemy had a railing in front of him. I think I was actually hitting that rail, and then things were dropping down here, so a little bit of a mistake there. This weapon isn't going to be great for exploders because it cannot get critical hits, and because it can't get critical hits, it can't knock them over or make them pause, and so you'll probably need slag to take them out effectively using this weapon. So, even though this weapon's really good for a lot of enemies, exploders are something that it's actually going to be a little bit weaker on. Another passive boost to the KerBlaster here, kind of like the legendary Grenadier comm, is that when you pick up assault rifle ammo, you get more assault rifle ammo than you used to get without the community patch. So that's pretty cool here, and it should make this weapon a little bit easier to manage ammo with because ammo drops are going to be better. So I'm trying to throw my my turret up there, but it was taking a little while to activate. So you can see that once that guy finally got slagged, we killed him pretty easily. I'll take the turret with me here. I am using an explosive relic instead of a Bone of the Ancients, and so we are going to have a slightly longer turret cooldown, but without the Bone of the Ancients, we don't have enough explosive damage, in my opinion. I wish there was an explosive Bone of the Ancients because a character like Axton should get that. He's not quite as powerful in some scenarios as other characters who benefit more from, the elemental damage than they would explosive damage. So seems like Axton should have a Bone of the Ancients for him as well. I'm sure there's a mod for that. Go ahead and get these guys slagged if we can. I'm going to shoot at his legs so that he can't bounce any of these back at me, which is good. You can see that once Metal Storm and Onslaught are active, it does even more damage, which is awesome. So I'm going to try to get both of these guys. Oops, somehow I blew myself up there. I was trying to get all of those guys grouped up so that hopefully we could see what the KerBlaster would do to all three of them, but it didn't work out that well. I killed myself instead, so operator error there, not gun error. Cool. There's another one over here. Let's see if we can pull him out. Excellent. So that was kind of cool. We were bouncing shots off of that wall, and then all of the little grenades were going in and hurting that guy, so good stuff there. Looks like we are out of the exploder zone. And, well, there's still some exploders, but we're out of most of the exploders. When enemies have a backdrop, this weapon is extra potent because all of those little grenades are so much more likely to hit the enemies that you're dealing with. So I'm going to try to get these guys slagged here, and then I'll try to blow this one up. Cool. So that gives me Metal Storm for this guy, and even though he's not slagged yet, I'll try to get these other ones slagged. Cool. Like I said, not the best weapon for exploders by any means. Probably can kill other enemies a lot better, though. Alright. So, you can see here that, you know, because this guy is near a wall, we're dealing quite a bit of damage to him, even without Battlefront or our kill skills active. So, speaking of Battlefront, I just accidentally threw my turret there. We'll go ahead and pick that up so that we'll hopefully have that back in time for the next room. It'd be kind of cool if this weapon came in elements, but being a Torgue weapon, I do understand that it's only going to be in explosive. So not a huge deal there. Just trying to blow up some of these barrels before we venture in here. This is a very, very effective weapon at blowing yourself up because not only can it kill you, but it's very likely to kill barrels as well. So, do have to watch out a little bit with the KerBlaster. You can get into some trouble with it. Ah! Like that if you aim at that railing. Let's see if it can't get me the second wind. So, my mistake there, another operator error. Even though this is my favorite weapon with Axton, I haven't played Axton in quite a while. So, killed myself a couple times. Let's go ahead and kill this exploder here. Looks like we're getting kind of an exploder-heavy run, which is a little bit weird, but not a huge deal. Go ahead and get my turret out there, slagging some stuff for us. Huh. I don't know what's going on there. I do like that the turret can activate kill skills for me. That's nice. Axton's kill skills are really, really good, so that's one of the things that is nice about having the turret. Okay, so we got both of those guys slagged. We'll blow up the hot loader, and then we'll move to the slightly healthier junk loader. Perfect. Okay, I was trying to use the Slagga because everyone says I use the Pimpernel too much, but that's why I think the Pimpernel is a much more effective slagging weapon than the Slagga. I definitely put some shots on that enemy with this Slagga, and it took, you know, it took some shots and didn't get slagged, which is not fun. The Pimpernel is a much more effective slagging weapon. Regardless, we are working our way through the Washburn Refinery pretty easily with the buffed KerBlaster. Obviously, the KerBlaster didn't suck beforehand. It was a very strong weapon in certain situations, but now it's a much more consistent weapon that is probably as powerful as it actually should be. There were situations in the unpatched version where if you couldn't get the extra grenade to land, this weapon was much less efficient than, you know, a different explosive assault rifle. So now that it's actually very potent, I think that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put the turret up there just for prosperity, and then we'll go ahead and kill these guys. So now we have kill skills for Pervy. Excellent. We'll shoot down into these other guys here. Should be easy enough to get grenades on these guys with these slopes, kind of taking the bullets into them. Cool. So we'll have to leave the turret there. I don't think I can get it. Huh. That's a shame. I do believe there is one mod that allows you to remotely recall the turret. That's something that Axton should have to begin with. That is an awesome idea that I really think Axton should have always had. Especially if you have the longbow skill. It should be a part of the longbow skill. You should be able to recall it remotely so long as you have the longbow skill. In my opinion, anyway. Some people might disagree, but it would definitely make Axton a lot better. Just a quality of life change more than anything. You'd get your turrets back so much quicker if you accidentally threw them in a spot that you couldn't easily get to. It'd be a huge benefit as well. Alright. So, this guy here, we can't knock his arms off, so against loaders like this, that might be one of the situations where you're going to want a different weapon, because knocking these guys' arms off obviously makes them a lot less dangerous, and we can't do that here with the KerBlaster. If we were carrying another weapon, we could definitely do that, but since this one can't get criticals, it can't knock off his arms. It still does enough damage to kill him quick enough, but sometimes you're able to disable them, which is obviously a good choice if you know that you don't have time to deplete their entire health bar. And so that's one of the areas where the KerBlaster is going to be less effective than some other weapons. Obviously, we won't be able to knock Hurley's arms off either, so Hurley's going to remain pretty dangerous, but we are going to have our turret, which might distract him pretty well. Get him slagged here. Perfect. And now he's against that wall, so these extra grenades should start dealing a lot of damage to him pretty quickly. His shield's gone. He hasn't quite yet destroyed my turret, so that's good news. Looks like he's about to destroy the turret, though, so we want to finish him off here before the turret gets destroyed if we can. Cool. So the turret actually outlasted Hurley there. That's awesome. So we got a big melee shield here, and we've also got a manly man shield. This would make it so that we're less likely to kill ourselves with the KerBlaster, but obviously the KerBlaster is not quite as dangerous as a Rolling Thunder or something like that, so I don't think that we need to worry about it, killing us. I think we're going to be better off with a blockade there than going full kamikaze with the KerBlaster. If you wanted to go full kamikaze and, have explosive damage and use the melee shield to prevent yourself from, killing yourself, then there are probably more effective weapons to use than the KerBlaster, but I do find that the KerBlaster is pretty fun. If you're playing co-op with a Maya, the KerBlaster can be especially effective because you can really use Converge and Ruin, to get a bunch of enemies slagged and grouped up, and then the extra grenades really do work. So this weapon can be especially effective if you are playing with a Maya who has phase lock, and, well, I guess all Mayas have phase lock, assuming they're over level 5. But if you're, you're playing with a Maya who's spec'd out for Converge and Ruin, this weapon does really, really well. Regardless, overall, we know that it didn't suck beforehand, but I think that the boost to it have definitely made it a significantly better weapon. It definitely feels, on par with some higher tier weapons now. I haven't tested enough weapons on Axton with the legendary Grenadier comm to know exactly where this is going to stack up compared to some other high tier options, but I can tell you that it's pretty awesome. I very much like the KerBlaster. I think it's got a cool skin. I really like the idea of it, and so the fact that the KerBlaster is even better now is really, really good. I like that quite a bit. Overall, can't say enough good things about the community patch. I do think it's weird and seems a little counterintuitive that something that makes this explosion when it hits a wall was not getting grenade damage bonuses to begin with. So this seems to fix what I believe to be an obvious oversight by the Gearbox development team. I have no idea why that initial explosion would not get grenade damage. So a little bit weird there. We could have done a few other things to benefit this weapon as well. We could have spec'd a little bit into overload, giving us a bigger magazine size so that we wouldn't need to reload so often. Being that this weapon does consume 4 ammo per shot, you do eat through the magazine pretty quickly, so overload might have been worth speccing into there. Regardless, this weapon performed very admirably, and I recommend that if you like Axton and you haven't given the KerBlaster a shot yet, definitely give the KerBlaster a shot. It's an easy farm, like I said, from those Torgue vending machines, and it's a fun weapon to use. I quite like it. So as always, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't yet taken the time to subscribe, please do so. Otherwise, I do hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.